Perfectionists suck at sales. And I'm going to tell you why that's all right. Yeah, keep watching because you'll see why I say cut yourself some slack. You know you shouldn't do this, but you still compare yourself to others. How is it that they seem to lock in new clients and land deals that look like they pay pretty well? And you think, I've seen their work. I could smoke what they do. Yet you're still the one with budget clients, with saying yes to agreements that you know you shouldn't even touch. But you do anyways because you know you could just get shopped around. So seriously, what do you do that's so different? At least not in a way that makes you any different from someone on Fiverr or for that matter Walmart or ChatGPT. You know good and well that some people will still fall in love with a tailored suit and splurge, even though they're known for normally deal hunting on the clearance rack. And you're thinking, okay, well, how can I tell people I'm the tailor-made option that you'll love? Well, here's the truth. You don't have a sales problem. You have a communication problem. And it's not because you're bad at talking. It's because you're a perfectionist. You're like me, welcome to the club. And perfectionists have all this expertise swirling around in their heads, but it's invisible. And prospects, they can't buy invisible. They need something that they can point to and say, oh, yeah, that's what I'm getting. And that's where most perfectionists fall apart. Because you're trying to explain something that doesn't have a container yet. There's no structure, there's no bones, no proprietary method that's yours. So every time you talk about your work, you're starting from scratch, trying to explain the unexplainable and hoping that it's just enough for them to get it. But here's the good news. Your perfectionism, you just need to learn how to wield it and refine how you communicate the incredible things that your perfectionism brings to the table. I know this because I've been there. I'll never forget standing at that microphone. This was a Michael Hyatt seminar. Everyone's learning how to be more productive like Michael Hyatt. Hundreds of people in the room at this little conference. And I had a question for his Q&A, and I walk up to the mic and I just completely botched it. The words came out all jumbled and I was so unclear and confusing. And I even took notes. I mentally prepared before I got to the mic. I botched it and I walked back to my seat afterwards thinking, Drew, you're supposed to help people communicate clearly and you can't even ask a coherent question. Well, later on a Zoom call with my friend Armando, I said what I was really thinking. I said, who the hell am I to teach people how to communicate? I can't even do it myself. I actually said it through lots of tears because I was pretty beat down about it. And he thought about what I was saying and he said, Drew, you're thinking about this all wrong. You don't help people become better speakers. You help them build a framework. It's so clear that even when they're nervous, even when they stumble over their words, it doesn't matter because the system does the selling for them. Okay. He had a point. That hit me like a truck because that's exactly what I had done for him. See, Armando was a business profit coach and he had stacks of certifications. Oh yeah, here's this detail. He had built an $87 million company in his past. So you'd think closing clients would be quite easy, right? Well, not so. He'd show up to networking events. He'd get right in the room with people. That's good. That's always good. And he'd get in the conversations with people and he'd try to give them just a little taste of what he could do. A little teaser of his wisdom. And you know what happened? Polite nods. He got a lot of, okay, well, that's interesting. Oh, I'll keep that in mind. And then nothing. And Armando wasn't bad at sales, but he was making the same mistake every expert makes. He was trying to explain his genius without any kind of a system. And when you do that, you end up sounding like everyone else. So I started working with Armando. And look, this wasn't like a one question fix. It took time to dig into. A couple weeks, actually. I asked him a lot of questions. I listened intently about his background, his clients, his wins, his failures. He had those which made him so valuable, to be honest. I didn't even catch it in the moment. I had to go back and listen to the recordings of our conversations. And he said it almost in passing, like it was no big deal. He said, yeah, I built an $87 million company back in the day. I'm like, wait, what? See, I have this thing, I guess it's called hook radar. It is always on. Sometimes it takes a while to activate. And I suppose I developed it whenever I was producing documentaries. Because I'd be interviewing someone and they'd say just one line that made everything else just make sense and fall right into place. It was like a mic drop moment. And I'd edit that to the front of the entire piece, like the chapter, because that's what people needed to hear first. And that's exactly what happened with Armando. He'd been leading with these other certifications and all of his wisdom, and he'd just dig right in. But buried in his story was this massive differentiator. He'd built this $87 million company. And that wasn't just a credential, that was proof. So I took that and I built his entire framework around it. I don't mean to get in the weeds here, perfectionist, all right? You'd understand. But we wove that right into the second pillar of his method because finance and cash flow and profit strategy, things like that, these are the things that really set him apart because he was quite gifted with simplifying numbers. So he wasn't just another business coach now. He was this guy who'd been there, he'd been in the trenches, and now he had a method. But here's the thing, it took work to get there. Really listening to catch that one detail that he didn't even think was important. And so that's what I do. So I dig, and I listen, and I catch the thing that you're glossing over. Okay, so after this appointment, the next day my phone rang, and it was Armando. And he said, "Hey, Drew, I just wanted to call and say thanks for that conversation last night. I took it today, and I went out and I got 2 clients with it." And I said, "Oh, okay, well, good. Yeah, good for you. I mean, congrats." Wait, what? Because I said, 2 clients in one day? Yeah, 2 clients, less than 24 hours. It was like 20 hours later, using the framework that I had put together for him and gave him the night before. And Armando wasn't the only one. Luis, next day, I actually closed 2 clients. Dwayne closed his next 3 conversations. So let me tell you about Dwayne. Dwayne runs a digital marketing agency. He thinks like an engineer. You can probably relate if you're listening to this. A lot of us perfectionists do think like engineers. We're detailed and methodical and thorough. And that made Dwayne incredible at delivering results for his clients. But when it came to selling those services, that was a disaster. He'd get on a call and he'd start immediately just diving deep into the inner workings of digital marketing systems. And the prospect would sit there nodding politely and they'd say, "Okay, this sounds complicated." Or they'd say, "Oh, wow, that's a lot. I need to think about this." And Dwayne would walk away thinking, "Why don't they get it? I just explained exactly how this works." Well, here's the thing. Dwayne's expertise wasn't the problem. His communication of that expertise was. So we started working together. And I'll be honest, it took 3 attempts. We stripped away everything that didn't directly matter to the person writing the check. And we reframed the entire process from their perspective. Not, "Here's how my system works," but "Here's how your life improves." And we built it into a simple proprietary framework. One that Dwayne could explain really in 60 seconds. One that prospects could repeat back to him. That's how simple it was. When I saw the 3rd version, I said this. I said, "Dwayne, trash everything you've done up to this point. This is the most beautiful and simple framework that anyone seeking marketing services will ever see." And then something amazing happened. Dwayne wasn't even trying to sell. It wasn't exactly the next day, but it was his next conversation. He was just sharing his new framework with his mastermind group, looking for feedback, and his own mentor leaned forward and said, "No, I didn't know you had a system like that." And he hired him. And that was just the beginning. Within his next 3 conversations, Dwayne managed to close $29,500 in new business. $25,000 of that was a premium service package that he had never sold before. He threw a tier 3 together and said, "No one's gonna buy this." And to a complete stranger at a conference, after 1 conversation, that stranger took him up on it. The stranger later told him, "We interviewed about 10 people for this position. Once we saw your process, how simple it was, and how much sense it made, you were the easy choice." Now here's what's important. Dwayne did not become a better salesperson. He didn't get better at pitching. He didn't learn some clever closing technique. He just finally had an easy mental tool that made perfect sense to these people he was talking to. He could finally clearly communicate the value they could get if they just give him a shot. And once he had that, everything else fell into place. His podcast content fell into place. His messaging fell into place. His service offerings, he stayed structured on his deliverables. He stayed focused. All of it built around this one proprietary method, and it was his. This isn't a fluke. This is what happens when you finally have something concrete to offer that's truly yours, something prospects can grab onto. You're not just closing clients faster, but you're building an entire business around something that no one else can copy. So I opened this video saying it's okay, actually, that we perfectionists kind of suck at sales because our brains work like giddy little engineers, so eager to solve problems, and details don't scare us. We actually hate it when the details get gypped and corners are cut. That's why I think you should cut yourself some slack. There are people out there that need your crazy OCD. They need to up-level their stuff. But here's the thing. You've got all this expertise, all this wisdom, all these insights you've picked up over the years of doing work, but it's intangible. And prospects, they can't buy what they can't see. That's why you got to have this proprietary method dialed in just right, because it makes your intangible wisdom tangible. It gives your prospects something legit, something they can sink their teeth into, something they can point to and say, that right there, that's what I need. And once you have that, you stop competing on price. You stop sounding like everyone else. You stop losing deals to people who charge less because now you're offering something no one else has. They either work with you and get you as the Yoda to take them through that proven process, or they just go without. So here's what I'd like to offer. If you're open to it, I'd like to get on a call with you. And on that call, we're going to uncover at least one thing that you're massively undervaluing about yourself, something your competitors don't have, and something you've been sitting on without really realizing that it might be your biggest differentiator. Whatever it is, I'm going to find it. And I'm going to show you how to weave it into a simple framework that makes your prospects say, wait a second, no one else does it like this. This is like a tailored suit. That's just one of the 5 pillars of my process that we'll build together. But even that one piece will change how you show up in your next conversation. And so here's what to do next. Step 1, fill out the short application below. 2nd, book your call, pick a time that works for you. And then 3, show up ready to discover what makes you irreplaceable. So cut yourself some slack. Let's build your unfair advantage. I'll see you on that call.